Hi, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Spencer Haver, and I'm a filmmaker and photographer, and was told about this yesterday. So, also, Elizabeth came over last night.
I did.
From England, so
I did.
thank you.
Thank you for that applause. It was not easy. I feel like I swam here.
You live here, so you don't get any
I was
kudos.
moments away.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
Excellent. I do hear the English twang in your voice.
Do
Oh my
you?
God, completely.
I fight it, but it's inevitable.
And
I've
how long
here
have you
for
been
so
in
long.
England?
32 years.
Yeah, you can hear it. That's good. Okay, so Ava Gardner, I think, are you the writer or the director?
The writer.
The writer, okay. What made you want to do Ava Gardner? Was it the story? Was it Ava Gardner herself?
It was a chance moment where I picked up a book in a bookstore and I saw that it was the conversations that Ava Gardner, who was a legendary movie star and who ended her life in London, not far from where I live now. In 1993, she had hired a guy called Peter Evans, who I happened to have known, a weird story, but to ghostwrite her autobiography. And they spent a year in each other's company working on this book, the end of which she fired him. And that was it. The book was never published. But after she died, Peter then published the conversations that he'd had on tape with Ava Gardner. And I read this book. It was called Conversations with Ava. And I found this idea of two people sitting in a room together and trying to eke out a life and what it means and what a biography is and the kind of journey toward intimacy that they inevitably go on, these two people sitting in that room. And I thought, that's a very interesting play. So 8 years later, here we are.
Right.
That's my Peter Evans.
Hello.
And we're doing this play.
And you were in the LA production, not the West End production?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And what brought you to it? Apart from, obviously, the chance to work with...
Wait, say that again?
What brought you to the role? Was it just...
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
did.
Well, no, I had worked with the director before. We did a play on Broadway together in 2018. And so we already had a relationship. And like most things in New York, that was... And it's also like a very specific role where it's not just Peter, but it's also playing all of Ava's husbands. So it's like one of those... For my money, I'm like, it's one of those things that we don't get to do very often as actors, and
Right.
it's not something that like actors really like, I don't know, cultivate anymore, because it's rare that you're asked to do something like that, but it's really fun.
Amazing.
And so, yeah.
It actually really started because Aaron does an absolutely unbelievable Frank Sinatra, which seems like
might
a
be
far cry to get him the role of Peter Evans, a kind of mousy journalist. But my idea was that instead of having Ava sit and endlessly tell her biographer anecdotes about her life, it would be so much more alive if they embark on this journey, which is in some ways like the love affair that she's trying to come to terms with in her memory of her past. And her great love affairs were with Frank Sinatra, Mickey Rooney, and a legendary musician called Artie Shaw. And so the idea of the play is that as she's trying to go back into her past and recreate it for herself for the sake of this biography, she kind of projects onto her biographer, and he becomes these men that she's remembering in her life along the way. And then they go on a journey that is kind of like a romance between them together. So please come and see it. It's much easier to see than to describe. But anyway, the point of this story is Aaron does a great Frank Sinatra, which I want everybody to
Thank
see.
you.
It's something that he's been working on, I think, all of his life. And now he's got a chance. No.
Tickets available. Well, that's I can do that.
But you got to buy a ticket.
You have to buy a ticket. I'm not going to sing, but I will say there is something about like Frank that we were talking about in rehearsals. It's like the version that would have existed in like the time of the play would not be like the version of Frank that like you would know. because he was like young and he wasn't like talking like this, but he was a kid. So he was younger. So we were like, do we want to do a version of Frank that's Frank, or do we want to do a version that might be like my feeling was like the version that you'd listen to and you're like, oh, it's that guy, and that's what I kind of grew up with because he was very interesting to me. He was very good at telling stories, and he was very good at telling these insane jokes. Which, let me see if I can remember one. I remember, like, as a kid, I listened to this Live at the Sands that he did. That was, and he said, one of these things he said, I made a funny investment. I took this past year and I made an investment. I made an investment in pumpkins, and then this year they decided to call off Halloween. He has like all these jokes like this. That's all I'm doing. That's all. But and then there's singing. There's singing.
Thank you, Aaron.
But anyway, that's what we decided on for Frank.
That was great. So, you're the writer. So you like adapted it for your own.
I adapted this book,
play.
and it became the play. That's right.
How did you get into the process of that, like writing it? Did you just sit down and just go for it, or was?
Well, the real story is that my original idea, because I got excited about this book, was to take it to a writer to do. So I got a producer and I took it to a writer and we paid him and he didn't do it. Then we took it to another writer and we paid her and she didn't do it. She just literally didn't do it. So I thought, this isn't working. How hard can it be? And I remember it like it was yesterday. I just opened up my journal. I said, well, somebody's got to do it. So I did it.
It was just like that?
Yeah, but that was 8 years of kind of working out how to do it. And I'm so lucky because I got a production in London, and then the producer was very faithful to the idea and to me, and we set up another production at the Geffen. So what we're bringing to New York is the version of the play that has resulted in having had a chance to have a lot of trial and error and to fix all the things that were wrong and to really hone it. So,
were you ever tempted to direct it yourself?
No, I wasn't. I feel like, thank you, I've got enough to do because I'm, playing the Ava part. And,
Sure.
So we have Moritz von Stulpnagel, which is,
Wow.
so
I wonder what that's
lucky.
worth at
German.
Scrabble. That's a lot.
Yeah, a hard name to say, but a great guy to actually be with.
Excellent.
And a wonderful, wonderful director. And I'm just so proud of it. It's very entertaining.
That's great.
Can I throw a question? I don't have the mic. I'm sorry, darling. Can I share? So, Elizabeth, can I just ask, with the it being off Broadway, how do we get it to Broadway?
Well, oh my God, I was kind of happy where we were. I mean, I'm fine. We're also going to Toronto and Chicago, so we've got enough to do right now. We'll figure that out later.
But it's such a fabulous story. I think there's such an because it's such an iconic kind of actress that is being portrayed in everything that is being played out, and the sexual frustration that you can see and read in the piece that you guys play together. Was that something that you kind of actively, obviously, were aware of, but were looking at how do we execute this on set?
Of course, yeah. I mean, she's an absolutely fantastic character. She was a woman really way ahead of her time. She never thought of herself as an intellectual, had very little education, came from absolutely nothing, but was incredibly forward-thinking in her attitudes about things. Never was political about them, but just lived life her way. So in my mind, she's still an extremely inspiring person to see, inspiring for people, women my age, and I think younger women as well, and also it's a real homage to movies when movies were movies. It's kind of in love with movies. So there's lots of images of her films and things like that in the show.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. What does it say now about celebrity and like maybe social media and about feminism back then? Does it mirror now, or is it completely different? How would you characterize that?
Well, I mean, she was one of the first people to be a celebrity in that big sense of the word. And I think you feel when you watch the play the toll that it took on her life. She paid a very huge price for her fame. And I think it's slightly bittersweet to think that now that's multiplied 100 million times with social media and all the other ways that people are projected onto screens everywhere constantly. And I think the play tries to, in a lighthearted way, to explore the psychological impact of that. And it's impossible for a human being not to have be affected by being projected, their image onto screens of strangers, and
Right.
and so her life is a way of kind of exploring that phenomenon.
It's a very kind of reactive piece in a way, because Ava's is such a character, and also he's coming into the space sort of like an audience would be, like knowing who she is, and we get to meet her in the same way that he meets her. So there's not too much kind of prior, if you know, I mean, you can kind of think of who that might be today, stepping into the room with somebody who has an extremely like public-facing persona, and also having that curiosity and knowing that there's money to be made, and that there's also something that he can gain. It feels very human. I think I just put it that way. Like it's an extremely human role, and also somebody who kind of comes in thinking, I know how to do this, and I can put my 2 cents in, and being in the space with a force like, not just like Elizabeth, but also like Ava. And so much of it is actually, I think my sort of like trajectory of the story is somebody who's going, oh, I got this, and then realizing as we go forward, you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just it is a very fun play to do. And I mean, I'm not going to speak for an audience, but it's probably fun to watch. It's really fun to do because it all happens right in front of you. We don't see, it's not like 3 months pass. It's happening right in front of you. You're watching these people getting to know each other, and also a relationship building and breaking and kind of that whole, the world of getting to know a famous actress. We're going to Broadway, we're making the movie. What aren't we doing? She's fine.
We've got to get through this lunch first.